Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
All right, welcome to the Love Pod, everyone. I am Julia, and today we are joined by Julie Agnew, a powerhouse coach, business strategist, and founder of the FLAWSOME Project, which is dedicated to, as I understand, helping out women build unshakable self-trust and lead with authenticity, confidence, and heart. She's also known as the Flawsome AF Coach, and she blends bold truth-telling, humor, and deep compassion to remind women that they are not broken. They've simply become disconnected from who they truly are. And through her work, she helps others release the masks that they wear, step into their natural authority, and build lives and businesses that feel as good as they look. So, welcome, Julie. We're so thrilled to have you here and dive into your journey. And I just, before we do dive in, I would love if you could take a moment and introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi, I absolutely will. Thank you so much for having me on. You nailed that and got it all spot on. So thank you. So I am Julie Agnew. I am the Flawsome AF mentor. I'm also a success and self-leadership strategist, and I'm a corporate Wonder Woman as well. And not many people that know me, sort of, I guess, within the coaching world actually know that I do have a corporate job too, and I lead a team. So I lead a team of women. So the two worlds go together perfectly. And my favorite thing to do is support and help other people. So it's brilliant that I get to sort of merge the two worlds. I am also married to a crazy Scottish man, which you might get the surname that is Scottish. And I just really enjoy seeing other people do exactly what they are meant to do and do it in a way that is them rather than what is expected of them. And there's nothing more powerful, I don't think, when somebody just owns the F out of who they are and just goes out into the world and does that.
That's so amazing. And, it's so funny because I find in life, whenever we are inspired to help others, down a certain road, it's usually because we have personal experience of going through that struggle or challenge ourselves, right? And so we can have more compassion and understanding and desire to help others who are also walking that path. So I'm curious to know more about, your history and how your life was before merging those two worlds and what led you to doing what you do today.
Yes, so I am almost 47 and it feels kind of scary to say that out loud. But I've worked in my current corporate career, the job that I'm in now, for nearly 22 years. I haven't led a team for all of that time. I've only really been required to do that for probably the last 6 years. Prior to that, I kind of just managed myself. My title has always been manager, but I really didn't manage anybody. It was just myself. So I had to learn really quickly how to do that. And prior to that, not many years prior to that, I decided that on a whim, I was going to launch an online business. So I was a network marketer, saw somebody post something about mascara. I'm a massive makeup lover. And I thought, that could be quite fun. I could sell that online. I'm sure it's not going to be that hard. And the world that I work in my corporate world, is in financial services. So it can be really stressful and very high pressured. And I thought this would give me a release and a bit of fun and let me, I suppose, have that creative outlet as well. So I did it because also it was my husband's upcoming 40th birthday. And I thought it'd be really nice to just earn some money outside of my job and separate to all of our bill money so that I could buy him a really nice watch because he loved watches. So very quickly, I was actually quite good at it and I managed to earn enough to buy him the watch and also take us to New York. But also, I ended up building a team within that business. It wasn't intentional. I had no experience of doing that prior, but I was introduced to the world of personal development as well and self-development. And I really, really have, I guess, like a thirst for learning more, which has only really developed within the last 10 years. Prior to that, I didn't really enjoy taking exams or learning and things like that. But I think because it's centered around, I guess, growing and developing myself and others, I enjoy doing that. It's something that I just love. So that's how it led me into coaching, because I started building a team there. I enjoyed helping other people build businesses, develop themselves, grow in whatever the way they wanted to. And then I then was leading a team in my corporate world. So I just thought I would like to gain a certification that actually gave me some confidence and put some weight beneath my wings and gave me some credibility. But as part of that, I actually went through the coaching program myself. So I discovered, guess I kind of knew that I had a limiting belief that was I didn't feel good enough, a real lack of self-worth, which probably really comes from childhood, which is probably a whole other podcast episode for various reasons. But that really opened my eyes because I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I've always wanted to just want people to like me. So I guess I've shown up as different versions of myself based on what I thought they expected. And so I found it really difficult when people didn't like me, or I got told I was too much. Maybe I wasn't enough in certain circumstances. And I found that really hard, really, really hard. And it took me a while to understand. The way I like to describe it is that we're not everybody's cup of tea, but we are many people's glass of champagne. And I prefer champagne. I love tea, but I would rather drink champagne if I'm honest, because it's always cocktail hour somewhere. But that really helped me get to a place of understanding that actually it is safe to be me. It's okay to be me, because when I looked at it through that lens, it helped me to see that unfortunately I don't like everybody else in the world either, and I don't think I'm meant to. So in that same vein, it's actually okay for it to be the reverse. And the quicker I got okay with that and got comfortable with that, the quicker I realized that my people would find me, because I was showing up as me and not somebody else and not wearing a mask. Because when I was wearing a mask, I perhaps other people actually couldn't see who I was. They certainly couldn't feel who I was. So they didn't know if they were my person or if I was their person. And so I guess that's in a nutshell. I realize I've just rambled on for a long time there, but does that make sense?
And this podcast is about you. This is your episode. This is your feature. So you could rumble on as much as you like. And I absolutely love listening to what you had to share, because it resonates so much, not just with myself, but I think with a lot of the people who are currently listening or will listen to this, because it's, you know, just listening to you tell your story. And first of all, like, I acknowledge you for not only having a full-time job, but then on the side also starting your own business. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs who are just doing that have challenges, but to also work full-time and do it on the side. And the most beautiful part is for your husband's birthday, you want to surprise him with a watch, and ended up being successful in that and able to go to New York as well. Like, that's so amazing. And as you were talking, I was also thinking about, like, I'm wondering what kind of limiting beliefs did she have to overcome in order to, be successful in this endeavor? And you went ahead and you went there and you answered it. And I love that, because, a lot of people sometimes, when there's a block into what they want to achieve or who they want to become, there it is those underlying beliefs. And a lot of the time they are subconscious. And, it just brings me back to Louise Hay, what you're talking about, because I don't know if you know who she is, but she was a beautiful writer, and she started basically the mirror work movement, which is like when you look in the mirror and you tell yourself a self-affirmation, a positive one. And this is how we can start, by changing our limiting beliefs. And so what she had said in the past was that a lot of people's biggest underlying belief that they're not even aware of is that they are not good enough. And like you say, this can stem from childhood. It could even be from past lives, but a lot of the time, and like you say, when we're children, we learn to please. Mainly, I think it starts with our parents, because they are the first, our mother is who we seek love from, primarily, but then it can, ripple out to other relationships. And so I think it's a very common thing that, as young ones, we do change, certain, authentic parts of ourselves and attitudes or behaviors in order to be accepted and to be loved, because that's just a primordial need that we all have. But then the problem becomes when we're not being our authentic selves. And I love what you said about, people feeling you. And like, there's a difference when somebody is buying a product or service just to buy it, or because they feel you. And there's such a difference there. And so I think it's really cool that you've gone through this personal experience, and now that you can really relate to other people and you know what they are going through as well, you can have more compassion. And so I want to ask you, like, personally, what would you do if a limiting belief would come up, or you would become aware of it? Like, how did you deal with it in that moment?
So I think for me, it's really important that I walk my talk. And so it was really powerful for me to go through the certification that I was gaining as almost like a client. I was being coached through it as a client. And I'm very much, I do the things that I expect others to do, or that I'm going to ask others to do. And for me, that process was not pretty most of the time. It was messy, because when you are, as you looking in the mirror, I mean, you can look in the mirror and affirm yourself in a positive way, but I think it's also really important to take a really good, deep, and honest look at yourself in the mirror and figure out what are the things that are going on that are holding you back. What are the things that perhaps you're not so great at, or maybe you're not showing up in a way that you would want to show up, and that can be really dirty. It can be messy. It's almost like when you're cleaning your house and maybe you've not cleaned it for a while, and you're pulling everything out and it's all dusty and dirty, and you're looking at it and thinking, right, what do I want to keep? What do I not want to keep? So you get rid of all the things that you don't want to keep, which might be the beliefs that you've realized you've been carrying your whole life. And it's almost like, I kind of like compare it to almost like you've got them in a rucksack. So you've been carrying them on your back throughout your life, just because that's what you did, because you took on beliefs from other people. And then when you get to a place of, I think, self-awareness, maybe personal development, you become aware of that. All of this can kind of come into your world. And then you're like, okay, so I believe that it must be hard, for example, to make money, or money doesn't grow on trees. That's a really probably someone people can relate to. I know my parents used to say that money doesn't grow on trees. And then you look at it and think, actually,
But literally it does.
do I really believe that? Is that really mine? And do I need to keep it? And then it's really, I guess, like freeing to think, actually, I can let go. And I can just decide, actually, that's not mine. I don't actually believe it. And it can be quite empowering to think, okay, if I don't believe that, what do I believe? And I think it's really important. Certainly, something that I've learned is, regardless of where you are in your development journey, business journey, life journey, whatever it is, it's really important to be compassionate and kind to ourselves, and just back ourselves the entire way through, knowing that whatever decisions we're making at whatever stages, with whatever beliefs we hold at that time, we're making them with what we know to be true in that moment, with the skills that we've got, with the knowledge that we've got. And whatever decision we make, it's going to be right, because I had a coach that used to tell me all the time, you're either going to get what you want or you're going to get what you need. And equally are really powerful, because you're going to learn something along the way anyway. And then it leads you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, I think you really just touched an important point, and it's absolutely true. Every experience that we're going through, whether we like it or not, is for us. Life is for us. And on an even, more conscious, deeper level, we are actually giving ourselves these experiences for our growth and for our evolution, and to learn lessons that we came in this life to learn. And so, I think it's really important. This inner work, this inner game is the truest and only game in life, I feel like. And it takes courage. It really does, to look deep in. Like you said, all the mess, everything's going to come up, especially if we haven't cleaned our house in years or decades. And so it can look pretty messy at the beginning, but it's okay. Like, it's okay to look at the mess, because that's the first step, is to have that courage to open the door and turn on the light, right? Because how do you clean a mess if you don't turn the light on? And so, and I think it's important too that you touched upon the fact that when we look at the beliefs that we don't like or that we no longer resonate with or choose not to believe anymore, it's important, I think, to replace that with a belief that we do want to affirm, because life is quite literal in the sense that it starts with our thoughts, right? But what we think, what we say, and what we do, it's all connected, but it does start with the mind. And so having that, desire to look at our beliefs and ask, is this true? Or do I want to keep this? Do I take this on? Or do I want to cut it off and choose something different? Because we are such powerful creative beings. We have that power to choose what we wish to believe. And yeah, there was something else I wanted to touch upon. It's kind of lost my mind right now, but that's okay. Yeah, and well, what you said too about having that self-compassion is really important, because we are not perfect, and it's okay, like everything that we've gone through, it's okay. So to have that extra compassion and understanding for ourselves, it's super important. Yeah. um did you want to add anything?
Sorry, yes, I was just going to say just a couple of things that came up there which might help people listening. One of my clients, when we started looking at her beliefs and we started exploring this, she felt quite overwhelmed with it. And so she likened it to, if you imagine you're on, I don't know, the upper level of your house, and you've got all of the spare rooms, maybe you've got some spare rooms, and the doors are closed and they are full, and the landing in between those are full also. And when she started exploring things and deciding, is this mine? Is this not mine? Shall I clean it up? Shall I give it back? Shall I let go? It was almost like she literally was clearing the landing so that she could then get into the rooms. And it was just like step by step by step. And she said that freed up so much space in her brain. And I think that is true as well. It's messy in the moment, but it's very powerful and very freeing as you go through it and come out the other side of it. And that just made me think of her as you kind of led on to that as well.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. And what's beautiful too is as you begin this process, like you literally probably start to feel quite lighter in your body, you're making space, like you're getting rid of the old and you're making space for new and opportunity and exciting things to come into your life. And what's nice is when people have guidance to do this as well, because sometimes people will be like, okay, I'm aware I have limiting beliefs. I know that they're stopping me from living my best life, but I don't know what the heck to do about it. And this is because we're not taught how to do this growing up. It's not like a normal part of an education system. So when people have desire to look at these things and then they're matched with someone who can help guide them compassionately through that, that's really beautiful. And so nice that there's people out there like yourselves who do help people do this, especially women. And yeah, I would love if you could share more about the FLAWSOME project and what inspired that.
Yeah, so I love Pinterest. I don't know if you like Pinterest, and I like looking through it for like quotes, all sorts of different things. And I saw a picture on there that I think it had a butterfly behind it, and that connects me to my mum. But it had the word flawsome on it, and the explanation was you've got flaws, but you're awesome anyway. So flawsome, the two words together. And for me, that just resonated so deeply because I thought, when we stop showing up wearing all the different masks, one, it's not as exhausting. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but when you're showing up with a different mask on to suit different people, and you're showing up in a way that you think you're expected to, because either they say you're too much or maybe you're not enough, or maybe what it might be, it's exhausting. It's really tiring because you're not just showing up as you're not just being you, and it takes a lot of energy. So I think when I realized also that other people that I look up to and feel inspired by and that I really admire have got flaws also, and they've just chosen to take those along for the ride and do what they want to do anyway, that released so much pressure off my shoulders, because instead of putting them on a pedestal and thinking that they were untouchable, I saw them as human. And I was like, oh, they're a human just like me. They have feelings where they're not enough. Maybe they're too much. They doubt themselves. They don't think they can do things. They think that things about them are horrible. Yet the things that actually they think are horrible are actually the things that I can relate to and that I feel connected to. So for me, it might be that I stumble over my words. I swear a lot. I can talk a lot. I can be too much. But other people see those things in me as positives. I think it's me that sees them as flaws, but that all tied in, because then it made me realize that actually it's my job to show up as me. Because if I don't show up as me, then I can't find my people. They can't see me, and the people that I need to help will always struggle to find me because they're not going to see me. And it was just, that was a light bulb moment. And I just thought, it's kind of a movement, but also we're always works in progress. And so I just really like the FLAWSOME Project. So I trademarked it, and that's my thing now, the FLAWSOME Project. Yeah.
I love that. And I love that it was inspired by you scrolling through Pinterest and finding a picture of a butterfly with that quote, the Flawsome Project, and it's so funny because, this I feel like is what is needed more than ever in our world nowadays is authenticity. And what's beautiful about it, Julie, when you are embodying that and you are being authentic and who you are, you inspire others to do that as well. Because, like you said, we can't be anyone else. We came here to be who we are, but the problem happens when we
Yeah.
forget who we are, and that can happen from, like we said, a very young age, or you know, it doesn't matter when it happened. The importance is realizing that, we need to realign with ourselves to live our best lives. And it just makes me think too of my daughter and how important like conscious parenting it is. It really is such a big deal. And she's only 20 months, but I'm just learning so much about myself through her and how she is my mirror. And it really reminds me too that parenting is not just about raising her up, it's about raising myself up and my inner child. And I don't know if you have children, but just looking at her and realizing that she is already perfect. Like there's nothing I need to do to change her or try to control her. She may get on my nerves sometimes, and they require a lot of attention. But I don't need to change her in any way. Like I love her unconditionally, and perhaps like, I mean, like you said, parents make mistakes. And, my parents were not perfect. I am not perfect, but I do believe that every parent does the best that they can with the tools and, the circumstances that they have at the time. And so, yeah, I think that what's so beautiful though is that we all came here to live our authentic selves, and through service and work like that you're doing, it helps to inspire others to do that as well. Because I just want to ask you this next question: when you do step into your authenticity, what sort of things and magic can come into your life from that place?
So for me, I'm very much all about teaming in. I call it inner strategy. So our inner work with our external strategy. And the minute that we choose to work on the stuff that's going inside, so our beliefs, our self-worth, our self-trust, all of the stuff that goes on, because we live in our brains for a lot of the time. So the minute that we raise, I'll just give you an example. When we choose to raise our self-worth and work on that, our net worth, so our money making ability, has to catch up, because we start showing up in a way that is a way where others actually respect what we have to say. We get listened to in the way that we want to get listened to. We get to teach people how to treat us. So maybe we've got boundaries that we can implement. We start showing up in a different way for ourselves. And when we start showing up for ourselves and stepping into self-leadership, where we go first and do the things for ourselves that we want other people to do for us, treating ourselves in the way that we want other people to treat us. When we do that, other people then see us in a completely different light, because our energy changes, our presence becomes bigger, our authority grows. And so when we raise all of those things up, the amount of money that we make has to catch up. It just has to, because we make ourselves a match for the things that we want, the goals that we want, the money that we want to make, whatever it is. But it all starts with our inner world. And I think every single person is born worthy. We just are. It's innate. It's our birthright. But for whatever reason, as we move through life and we take on other people's beliefs, maybe we have people in our school lives that chip away at our confidence or our self-worth. It all gets chipped away at a little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit. And subconsciously, sometimes you don't even realize that's happening. And then all of a sudden you do realize, oh, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel worthy enough. And it is about remembering that we've already got the cape. So I like to say actually that I help women that have already got the cape. They've just forgotten how high to fly.
Mhm.
So that's really important for me, because when we do that, we make ourselves a match for anything that we want. Regardless of what the timeline is, it is just inevitable that it's going to happen, because we build that level of self-trust in ourselves and tell ourselves, almost like speaking to that child that we're raising. We speak to that child and just let them know we've got ourselves through whatever circumstance and whatever situation, and we'll figure it out. And I think for me, the really cool thing is as well, my mum decided to follow me into the online world and launch her own business at 56 years of age. You know, brand new career. She'd never done anything like it, but she did it because I chose to step out and do it. And I think when we choose to do that, we almost tap people on the shoulder and give them permission to feel like they can do the same. And so it's crazy to think that as the child, we can inspire our parents to do things that are going to make them feel amazing as well. And my mum passed away last July, but that period of time where we kind of did that together and learnt together, and you're never too old to learn something new. That's what she taught me, and that's what I'll always take throughout, you know, the rest of my life. It doesn't matter how old you are, you just have to be willing to do the work.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And what a beautiful, last couple of years of memories that you have with your mother. And I don't think it's crazy at all that you've inspired or that we can inspire our parents. I think it's so wonderful that we can. And it's like it goes both ways, that frequency. So our parents have impact on us, and as do we on them. So I think it's so cool that when you stepped into your authenticity and your purpose, your mom was inspired to do so as well, because you didn't have to go tap on her shoulder physically and say, hey mom, you should do this, or I know that you would be so happy if you tried this. It's like you embodied it for yourself, and then she saw that shift in you, and so she felt inspired to do that as well. And I think that's so amazing. And it's exactly what you said, talking about that self-trust piece. And it's not so much strategy or figuring out how to create a financial plan or build that up. It's like you work on you, and that's the inner world that you're consciously changing, and then your outer world will simply reflect what's already on the inside, right? And it will look like magic, but it will change before your eyes. And I know you're talking from experience. And so, you mentioned about when life gets messy, and even at the end of the bio, you have the phrase when life lifes. Can you expand a little bit on what this means, and how you personally navigate like the messy middle during moments when things don't go as planned?
Yeah, so I can speak to my mum if that's all right. She passed away last July after a short battle with cancer. So life was hard last year for myself and my husband. My mum passed away in July. My mother-in-law, so my husband's mum, passed away in October. Actually, a year ago today is a 1 year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then we had to put our lovely fur baby, send him to Rainbow Bridge just after Christmas, so on the 2nd of January. So we had a lot going on. And so I think if we are high achievers and high performers and we want to be and do all the things for everybody else, we have very likely a very high capacity to carry a lot as well. And so I think what I realized is it's okay to give ourselves the permission to feel our emotions as we're going through things. And again, one of my coaches said to me, and the way she explained it has really sat with me, and just I've carried it with me, and it made so much sense. Feelings are emotions. They are feelings in motion, so emotion. They're meant to move, they're meant to travel. So as a people pleaser, I had a tendency to squash down what I wanted to say because I didn't want to upset people, or just keep it all in. I'm strong, I can deal with it. And it all just went down. But knowing that they are meant to move, we're meant to process them, they're meant to move through our body so we can let go of them. I've made a conscious effort to do that. And I think just doing that very thing has helped to process so much. But also, it's also been really helpful to realize I'm not perfect and I'm not meant to be perfect. And that's what the FLAWSOME Project is all about as well. So even doing things imperfectly and doing teeny tiny things, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be a little bit, can move you forward very, very far, because you're lapping everybody else that's sat there doing nothing because they're either scared to make a decision, they don't make a decision, and they don't want to. The ones that get ahead are the ones that just are courageous enough to just take a step and just have the level of self-awareness that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not do anything if you don't want to do anything. It's okay to do a lot if you want to do a lot. It doesn't matter. Just meet yourself where you are and lead yourself through it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's also okay to make mistakes. You know, a lot of the time we think we're going to get it perfect or in one shot, and we're looking at that destination that we want to get to or the final goal that we're striving for. But we forget that it's also a journey, and that's the most beautiful part of it. Like, how boring would it be if we just snapped our fingers and there it is what we want? Like, there's no experience of going through, you know, the emotions, like you say, and that's totally a part of life and this human experience. And when you were talking about that, you know, it reminded me of my 20-month young daughter and how she's crying for, you know, this and that. And like, she's happy, she's sad, she's cries, she falls, she hurts. Like, it's just, she's feeling everything. And I just had this image of like adults walking around on the streets and just like babies, like still feeling their feelings and crying and emoting, and what a funny world it would be. And I think it's normal that we turn those parts off of us because of these expectations of like, oh, this is how we're supposed to act as an adult. And, you know, they don't just cry in public, or men don't cry, you know. So like you say, we suppress and we do it unconsciously, but it is energy and motion. They are emotions and they are meant to be felt. And I think what's most important is whenever people have safe place to do that, they feel like they can be their vulnerable selves, right? A lot of the times, perhaps they don't feel safe, or they forgot how to emote, or maybe there was a trauma from their childhood that literally doesn't allow them to. But I can tell you it's the most beautiful, most freeing feeling ever to just feel and let, you know, let that energy move. I remember my third trimester of being pregnant. My hormones were off the walls, and every day I was crying probably like 10 times a day about everything, but it didn't matter. It felt so good to let those feelings flow. And so I think it's really beautiful how you shared, you know, in your messy moments of life or in your hard times, just allowing whatever's wanting to come up without, you know, judgments and just acceptance. And sometimes that's not always easy, but I think the first step is perhaps taking a step back from our busy lives, sitting in a quiet place and just observing and listening. You know, it's funny because a lot of the times people ask me, or especially my mom, you know, I don't know how to meditate. I can't meditate like this. I can't. And the thing is with meditation, we're not trying to turn off our busy minds. We're just sitting and we're being with what is. And sometimes that's a mind full of stuff, you know, and sometimes that's just being with it, but observing it and loving and accepting it as is. You know, there's nothing that we need to change. There's nothing that we need to try and, you know, turn off. But the more that we sit with ourselves, the more that we can, you know, be relaxed and be comfortable with what is in our bodies and what is going on.
Yeah, I think I'm not a massive meditator, but I think that for me, something that has massively helped as well is I'm a real advocate for celebrating life, celebrating wins, little wins, celebrating failures because you're learning. And it is a journey, it's a long journey. So if you're not celebrating along the way, you're not going to continue, you're not going to want to carry on. So celebration has been a big thing. And also having fun on purpose, intentionally going out of my way to have fun, because if I'm feeling happy and good in the space of having fun, then that has a ripple effect into other areas whilst you are processing things. Just because you're going through the messy times, it doesn't actually mean you can't appreciate the good and look for the fun and the moments that you can celebrate. You can still have the tough times and still be going through a tough time, but also you can have fun in moments throughout that.
Yeah, and it's so important to like what you focus on, right? The more that you focus on something, the more you're going to get out of it. So, you know, it reminds me, I don't remember what book it was, but my husband talks about it often, of this man who was in prison, and he found I think, spiritual enlightenment by being in that cell, by focusing on what, was still good in his life and having gratitude. You can be in the worst life situation is what I'm getting at, but still, if you can focus on things to be grateful for, then that will change your life. And so, like you said as well, the more mistakes you make, the sooner you're going to get it right. So it's okay to make mistakes, yeah, and celebrating those little wins and those mistakes, focusing on more of the good that you want to come into your life, and accepting maybe the things that are not so good. It will change. It is temporary, and things will get better.
Yeah, nothing is permanent in life. We're not permanent. Life is not permanent. So it is going to change.
Absolutely. Everything is going to change, and that's inevitable. And I want to just talk to you a minute about the unshakable confidence that you talk about. So, a lot of people don't really explore the foundation that rests on. And so the difference between, confidence built on external validation versus the inner kind that can't be shaken. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think part of people pleasing is wanting external validation. And particularly, I think if you run an online business, you can tie your self-worth to external validation. So that can look like recording a podcast, posting it, nobody engaging with it, a post, doing a live, creating content that you think's amazing, you post it, and then it's crickets. And then we can go into a spiral of, oh my God, that was so bad. I'm a really horrible person. What I've got to say isn't liked by other people. I'm not good enough, and it takes you back to that place. And so I think it runs alongside of the self-worth piece of actually valuing your own opinion of you, what you want to do and what you think you should do with your life over anybody else's. And it doesn't mean that you can't ask anybody else for their opinions, because the chances are, if you are a wonderful human, you are going to want to consult the people that you trust and that you love. But the difference is knowing when what you know in your heart is the thing for you, even if it feels scary, even if it's unknown, even if you've no evidence that it's going to work, you've never done it before, and somebody says, oh, I don't think you should do that, I don't think that's going to work out, it's too risky, what if you fail, all of that stuff. It's knowing that you can say in that moment, thank you so much for your opinion, I really appreciate it, but in this situation, in this moment, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to see how it goes. I'm going to be prepared to fail. I'm going to be prepared to just see what happens. I know I'll figure it out, and going with it. And it's trusting yourself more than somebody else's opinion as well. And the more you do it, the stronger it becomes. It's like a muscle.
Yeah, for sure. And the first couple times might be uncomfortable. And
Oh,
that brings me to some of my own experiences and perhaps mistakes in the past where I've had this really great idea and I was so confident and sure about it. And I was full on trusting and ready to take action. And then perhaps I told the wrong person, even if that person was like a really close person to me. But it's really important, and my partner reminds me of this all the time, to guard our minds and guard our ideas. If you know somebody's going to squash your idea, or maybe you don't know, but perhaps there's signs there, like for perhaps this person's always negative, or they don't take big leaps in life. And so don't go and tell, even if it's like someone really close to you, don't go and tell all your, personal or really big dreams or ideas to someone who perhaps may squash it, because then that can completely undo the work that you've done, and completely, you know, like, and disencourage you, unencourage you, sorry, from even pursuing it at all. And so it's really important to be wise about that. And then even like you said about perhaps, doing all this work and then uploading this video and not getting any views, it could be that it was the best video ever. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with anything you shared or any of your skills or anything, but perhaps you just forgot to market it.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think you have to be courageously aggressive about the way that you back yourself, and remind yourself and tell yourself that you've got yourself throughout whatever is going to happen. And I think the really important thing to remember as well is when people do say, oh, be careful, I'm not sure that's for you, I don't want you to get hurt, or whatever, they are coming from a place of concern and wanting to keep us safe. It's not necessarily that they want to trample all over our dreams and goals. It's just that they think that something bad might happen. And when they think of that, they want to protect us and keep us safe. So it's in their mind, don't do it, because then you're not going to get trolled online. You're not going to get someone squash your idea. You're not going to fail. You're not going to be upset. They just really want to keep us safe. So,
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful point that you just touched upon, and it's absolutely true. You know, people, especially closest to us, do care for us, and the last thing they want to see is us getting hurt. And sometimes, you know, taking these entrepreneurial leaps or starting new projects, there will be some hurt, and that's just part of the journey, you know. But yeah, it's very important that what you said, it's not any bad intention. It's just them wanting to keep us safe. And it's also uncomfortable, you know, people have these ideas of who we are, and that's from their own perspective and projections. But when we start to change, even if it's even if it's exciting for us because, you know, we're going through this inner journey and doing all this work, but for them it's like, oh, that's not the same Julie that I know. That can be uncomfortable for them, right? So they're going to try to do what they can or say what they can to bring you back to the level of comfort that they know of the perception of Julie, of who they think you are, right?
definitely. And as we develop and other people don't, they do stay where they are and we tend to grow. And that's not a bad thing either. If they don't want to, that's absolutely fine. But I think that's when you get to pick the people that you know are going to back you and be your cheerleaders. And they're going to be like, let's go, let's do this. You've got this, you can do it. And then you have the other people that will still cheer you on in different ways. You just don't have to share the big scary goals with them. You just get to say, oh my God, I did this and this happened. And they'll be like, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. They just don't
Exactly.
feel scared as you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's important to who we surround ourselves in life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well about so the power of self-leadership. I love that little spin on that word. So, you know, what that means to you and how can women begin cultivating it in their everyday lives, especially when they feel perhaps disconnected or stuck in self-doubt?
So for me, self-leadership does look like doing things for yourself before you expect anybody else to do them, and treating yourself in a way that you want to be treated before anybody else is going to do that. So if you want, as cheesy as it sounds, if you want to be respected more, if you want to be heard more, if you want to be loved in the right way more, it's doing those things for yourself. Because when you go first, you then show up in a different way and you show people how you are willing to treat yourself. And they then think, okay, she is expecting that I treat her in that way. So that makes sense. It's a different level that we kind of, I suppose, show others. And once we do that, the world then moves to match us. So then we will start getting heard, respected, and loved in the ways that we want because we've almost taught people what we are willing to accept, what we're not willing to accept, and the level that we've elevated to. And it can be little things like saying no instead of saying yes. So instead of saying yes to something when you really want to say no, it's saying no. So it really, really small thing. If someone offers you a biscuit and you're not used to saying no, you could just say, no, thank you. I don't want a biscuit at the moment. Tiny little things. Do you want a cup of tea? No, I'm okay. Thank you. You don't have to be horrible with the way that you do this either. You can still be the kind, compassionate, respectful human that you are. You just get to say, thanks so much for your opinion. But in this instance, I'm going to do what I feel is right for me. Or thanks for the biscuit, but no, thank you. Or, you can do things in a very respectful way, but it's taking teeny tiny steps forward towards the things that you want, making decisions about things, even if you don't know how they're going to turn out, because staying stuck in indecision keeps people in a place where their dreams then go to dream heaven and they never get realized. So even if you aren't sure what decision is going to be the right decision, just make one, just make it, and just do it and learn from it, because then it's easier the next time to make another decision. And it's okay with failing. Be prepared to fail. It's little things like that.
I love that. And, you know, the wrong decision is better than no decision. And I was chuckling in the background there because I grew up with and still have a mother who is the most indecisive person in the entire world. And God bless her. I love her to pieces. But I also know that I gave myself, this experience of having a mother who is indecisive to learn from that. And it is so important to, just make decisions and step into that power, because the sooner that we can make wrong decisions, the more the right one will the faster it will come. But also you spoke about, just taking those little strides of like, perhaps when you want to say no but you say yes, it's like you're not being your authentic self, right? And after, you probably would feel pretty bad about saying yes even though you wanted to say no. So if you can in those moments catch yourself and say no when you truly don't want something, you will feel so empowered after, because it's not about caring what other people think, or perhaps disappointing or letting someone down. Maybe someone made you the most scrumptious biscuits, and they want you to try it. They're fresh out of the oven. But if you simply don't want it, you're just speaking your truth. And there's nothing wrong with that. And what I loved what you said about earlier is, leading by example, and first treating ourselves that way. That is such an important piece. And it just makes me reflect too so much on my life. Like, if you want anyone to, respect or treat you in a certain way, first you need to honor yourself and give that to yourself. And that can't always be easy, especially if for decades you've been treating yourself in a certain way and perhaps not in such a kind way. But we could also look at it from the perspective of, oh, yay, I get to start cultivating a new relationship with myself. How exciting. How do I want to be treated? And then you can start this inquiry process and start thinking about ways that you wish to be treated, and then start implementing. And that might be little by little each day, but the faster you cultivate that clarity and awareness, then you can really start creating a conscious life, and start, seeing the magic of the relationships changing around you.
Definitely. For me, self-leadership really is the bridge between the things that you want, so the goals that you set, and actually achieving the things that you want. It's the action taking piece, but also it's really important that we start articulating it ourselves in a way whereby we let other people know how we feel. It's really hard if you don't want to upset people and you're used to squashing all of that down. And it can be really uncomfortable. It can be really uncomfortable. I'm a person that does not like silence. So if I've had an argument with somebody, I couldn't go for days without, because some people can just go for days without resolving anything, and ignoring. Like, I'm the person that would just say sorry, even though perhaps it wasn't my fault. So the first time that I practiced actually standing my ground, it was uncomfortable, but I actually made myself be uncomfortable in the silence, because I think when we don't do that, we disempower other people's growth as well. So we're not giving them the opportunity to grow, because we're constantly taking that away from them by just folding and just trying to just gloss over it. And I think like that was a massive realization for me as well, is that some of the things that I do or that I was doing disempower other people's growth and development without me realizing, because I would never want to do that. I would never want to disempower somebody else and stunt their growth just to make myself feel better and more comfortable.
Well, it seems like you've come a long way, and you've really had experience in your life that have made you more aware and understanding too, that if you're in a situation where you're arguing with someone and perhaps you've said what you needed to say, but then the ball's in their court and they're not talking to you, realizing that, there's nothing you can do. You need to accept people as well for who they are, and not try to push anything otherwise. And so it's really important to honor our own feelings, but to honor others as well. And perhaps the distinguishment is here that we can have different, styles of dealing with these, arguments. And so, yeah, I want to also touch on the point of sisterhood and connection and community and friends. I think it's really important. And I know as well, there's been times in my life where I've felt more lonesome, and there's times where I felt more connected to close sisterhood and friends. And, it's so funny because the times that, as much as I do appreciate my alone time, I also feel so uplifted when I'm around a close, group of girls where I can talk to, and let out certain, things that I can't perhaps with my partner or with other, friends that are not as close. And so I just want to ask you and talk about the importance of sisterhood or a community close by, and the journey of reclaiming our self-trust and authentic power.
Yeah, so for me, I'm really, really lucky. I've grown up with great people around me. I don't have brothers and sisters, but I've had some great friends, and I've still got friends that I've been friends with for many years. My best friend I've known since I think I was, well, 11, but 12. You know, I'm 47 almost. She's almost she'll be 48 next year. So we've been friends for a long, long time. And I think it's really important to find those people who champion you, who shout for you the loudest without there being the competition. They just really get behind who you are. They are your cheerleader when you can't see that in yourself. And that they just, if you haven't got the table, they're like, right, let's build our own table. We don't need a seat at anybody else's table. We're going to build our own table because it's going to be an amazing table. And then when we built our own table, we're going to invite everybody else to come and have a seat at the table because it's an amazing table and they are going to want to be a part of it. And I think for me, it's just really important to have those people around that do that for you, but for you to do that for others, there's so much, I guess there can be jealousy, people thinking they're behind other people, so that can create resentment. But I think if you can get to a place where you are owning your own journey, you get to just champion other people and just be happy for them, regardless of where you are in yours, because where they are in their journey is where they're meant to be, and you are right where you're meant to be as well. But having that community and that space around where you share similar beliefs, you go through similar challenges, or you've got the people that will tell you the truth when you need it. They won't do things for you, they will help you and support you, but they know that it's yours to do as well.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's a lot easier on ourselves when we don't compare ourselves to others as well. I think that's a bad habit some of us may have, and it doesn't feel good, you know. If you're comparing yourself to someone, it's like when you're around an authentic group of friends that you can just like love each other, literally love each other and accept each other unconditionally, knowing that we're not here to compete, we're just here to connect authentically and uplift one another, then I think
Mhm.
that's really important to have in our lives because it can do wonders, and just having that simple connection, you know, it doesn't have to be anything like complicated. It really it does make a difference. And I also want to go over, Julie, you know, the balance between the hustle and bustle, because like going after an entrepreneurial endeavor can be quite a lot and a different kind of like pace and just, you know, pursuing a regular lifestyle. And so how to balance that alignment and that ambition or that drive that one might have, you know, staying like focused on our purpose while also ensuring we don't lose connection with our essence.
Yeah, so I think for me, I have like a knowing. I know that incredible things are going to happen. They are already happening and I'm meant to change lives. What that timeline actually looks like, I'm not quite sure. So I've almost had to like divorce myself from what that might look like. But I think also decision making is a massive thing that comes into it because last month, the last couple of months, I've because of everything that's gone on, life's been life in, I found myself almost drifting, coasting along, not really having a focus. And so I just decided one day, I was just like, you need to give yourself a pep talk. So I did. I was like, right, you need to get your, you know what, together. It doesn't have to be a lot. We just need to be doing little things that are more focused, that are intentionally going to get you towards where you want to get to. And I kind of just came up with a rough plan for myself that gave me flexibility to dip in, dip out, move, change it. And the minute that I decided to do that, and the minute that I started just living that and embodying it, it wasn't perfect. I didn't do everything that I'd like written down. Even just little things shifted so much energy and opened up so much space because when we're so full and focused on stuff and we don't give ourselves the space or the time to open that up, we can't see the opportunities. So if we're like our tolerance, our window of tolerance is like this, we're almost like tunnel vision. So it's like that. So we can't see then what's outside. So we can't see what's here, here, here. The minute then that we decide to clean what's up in here up and let go of some of the things that are in here, it opens up so much space. And all of a sudden our window is here and there's an opportunity there or one here. And it can be crazy. It doesn't have to be hustle, 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 hustle. In fact, I think when you do things with intention that you know are the right things and are going to get you to the right place, and you have a strategy that is backed by you, the action that you then take is going to supercharge and get you to where you want to get to a lot quicker.
Yeah, and it's going to get done in divine timing. I think that's a big one too for people. It's like, feeling overwhelmed with all these tasks or duties that we have in front of our faces. It can totally feel like a lot, but with what you said, letting go of the expectation that it needs to be done by a certain timeline, it's like there's something more divine and greater than us that knows better than us. So it's kind of like simply getting out of our own way, but also that inner knowing that you had. It's like that you're meant to change lives. When it happens, maybe it's not up to us, just doing the things that the things that feel good for you, taking that little reality check and saying, hey, we need to have a little pep talk and, focus on these small things that make us feel good, and the rest kind of just falls into place. And it's really important for people to hear that, because I think when something great is meant to happen, it's not out of self-will, right? It's not us trying to do something or trying to get it done. It's meant to be done in an aligned way. And so sometimes, like, I always think about what my partner tells me. It's like, I'm like, how are we gonna make this happen, or this or that? And he always reminds me, we don't have to make anything happen. We kind of simply just need to allow. And that's something that I think is a big thing for people to hear.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we hold on so tight to things and try and force things too much, that we then strangle it. So we can let go a little bit and release the pressure on ourselves and remind ourselves it's okay if we're not perfect. Doing it imperfectly is fine. Taking a little step is fine. It doesn't have to be a huge leap. That frees up so much space and energy. And that's when then like the little ideas drop in and it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's an amazing idea. But it's going with it and actually then taking action on it. It's not just letting it sit there and think, oh, it's going to happen. I've thought of it now, it's going to happen. It doesn't work like that either. We think of it, we have the idea, but then we do have to take some action. It's not just going to drop into our laps because we've just thought of it. We do have to do some stuff ourselves.
No, absolutely. We do need to be proactive and take those steps. And just in terms of the hustle mindset, though, it doesn't always need to be go, 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 because like you said, taking those time and those moments for ourselves is so important. And I know from experience, there's been times in my life where I'm like, oh, I don't have time for me. I got to get this done, or I got to get that done. But the thing is, when we do take a step back and do drop in and connect with ourselves in those ways, whether it's going for a hike or just going to journal in our room or whatever it may be, that allows those insights to come back in so that we know which inspired steps to take next and what actions to take. And so I want to leave you with this last question, Julie. If every woman could hear one truth from you, something maybe to anchor them back into love or into their self-leadership, what would it be?
Oh, I think it would be just remembering that you are not everybody's cup of tea and you are not meant to be, but you are many people's glass of champagne. And if you just do remember that, one, you're going to remind yourself that you're an incredible human. And two, you're going to remind yourself that you get to, without realizing it, repel the people that were never meant to be in your life. And also, being you is very profitable.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for bringing your authenticity and heart to this conversation. And your words do truly remind us that, our wholeness doesn't come from perfection. It's not meant to. It comes from embracing who we truly are, flaws and everything. Yeah. So is there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up here?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for having me. I've loved to chat.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you being here. And also for everyone who's listening, if you wish to connect with Julie after this video or through the FLAWSOME Project, I will have all of your links in the video description notes. And yeah, so just a reminder to everyone to trust yourself more deeply and love yourself more fully and lead from that power that's always been with you all along.
Thanks for watching. You say ciao ciao.
Bye.
I love you so much.